man may not be on the top of his form, but he can still make himself useful.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the By Design podcast. I'm Tim, one of the co-conspirators here. Have you ever wondered, was 9/11 an inside job? Did the CIA kill Kennedy? Is there any frickin' gold left in Fort Knox? Well, in today's episode, we don't talk about any of that. My friend EJ Lanham sits down with Ronnie and I. EJ's actually my pastor at Field of Grace Church in Lebanon Junction, Kentucky as well. We discuss the growth of the church, biblical masculinity, raising a family from scratch, and a lot more. I personally got a ton of value from this conversation, and I think that you will too. Thanks so much again for joining us. Here we go.
Yeah, man, we met, when was that?
It's
2018, 19, maybe something like that?
Gotta be 7 years ago
Yeah.
at this point.
Because I think you guys got started like...
We got started 2014, the church did.
Okay, yeah.
But I didn't start doing that until probably 4 or 5 years in.
Okay.
So.
Are you still doing the...
No, I don't mean to. Every now and again I will.
Yeah,
so
get
we're in a
sucked back into
project
it?
right now, that a lady in the church, her mother was getting messed around with insurance. You know, I said, let me see your scope. And the next thing I know, I'm in a project. So, yeah.
Well, yeah.
I don't mean to.
Yeah, I remember you came. We were having this. It's a networking group, by the way, for those listening. We had like a business networking group, and so there was business owners and people that were kind of leaders within business. And you'd come in and you said, "I figured if I could sell Jesus, I could sell roofs," and I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, no, and then Tim, he and I grew up together, and he started going to church. Out there, and he said, "Yeah." I said, "Who's the pastor?" He said, "EJ." I said, I think I know EJ." And so anyway, and then I think somehow you might be related to our pastor, Matt Morris.
Oh yeah, so not really, but yeah,
like through like a distant cousin somehow.
So Matt is my cousin's cousin by marriage.
There you go.
There you go.
See,
yeah, so,
that seems like a Kentucky thing for you to say.
His uncle is my dad's really good friend, and so
Okay.
it's just been So the Richardsons. Matt's uncle's a Richardson somehow or another. Yeah. So,
I don't know if he told me that or Tim told me that somehow, but we came across it.
And I may be even wrong with that, but yeah, it's Fairdale, so everybody's related somehow.
That's what I said.
And
It's a Kentucky thing to say.
Yeah.
Well, good. So what has been going on with you guys? I mean, I hear Tim, I see you on social media, I follow you guys, and it seems like you guys God's been blessing you all and you've been experiencing some growth. So what's the journey been like? 2014 is wild, coming up a little over 10 years. And
11 years now. So I think August will be 11 years. It's just been a journey. It's kind of wild to think that it's been 11. I feel like we've restarted several times. Kind of go through that. COVID was a restart, right?
Yeah.
A hard restart. We've been through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buildings. And so every time you change locations, it's like a restart.
Yeah.
Then we've built a building since then too. So I guess 6 buildings. We're building a building right now again. And so it's been a crazy journey. It's been fun. I got saved at 23, so I wasn't raised in church. And so I didn't have a lot of church background. Got saved at 23, called to preach, and began to kind of utilize that gifting in my life pretty immediately, even though I didn't have a lot of the knowledge, maybe that you would think you would need. And then at 26, we started the church. So 3 years in, and I just talked to the pastor one day and said, "Hey, I think the Lord's calling us to kind of go do this." He said, "Cool, let's pray together." We prayed. I think like 2 weeks later, they had me in front of the church praying over me. And then the next week, he was like, "All right, good luck." And
go find a building, dude. Get out.
I don't know that I knew. We didn't know anything. We didn't know what that meant. There was no team. There was no structure, organization. It was just pray, preach, and good luck.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it. We started that way. So
what did it look like? So we talked about this a little bit in the past, getting called to preach, because that can be a point of contention for some preachers. I've always been curious. I've felt God's calling at certain points in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes He'll put you in situations where you have to look to Him, and then He'll open a door for you.
Sure.
But I'm just curious to know, what's that? I'm sure it's a process, but kind of what is that process?
Yeah, I think there's certainly different lines of thought on the call. I think first and foremost, every Christian has a call on their life to proclaim Christ and the gospel of Jesus, right?
Agreed.
I think that's the initial thing. We are called to be disciples, to forsake and to follow, in whatever area or avenue that means.
Yeah.
But then even within the disciples, right, you see Peter being used a little bit differently than others. So I lean more towards there's a supernatural call that a man has on his life to preach and to proclaim the gospel of Jesus. It was never an occupation. I don't remember it ever being a choice per se either for me. I got saved at 23, and immediately when I heard the gospel of Jesus, I felt an overwhelming burden to share that, to share it, to consistently speak out. And then spots began to come available for me. So like I was at football practice one day at Fairdale after I'd gotten saved, and was just kind of visiting my coaches and the team, and they were like, "Hey, don't you go to church now?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "Well, why don't you pray for us?" I'm like, well, that was kind of strange, but so here I was praying, and then I heard about FCA, and I thought, well, I could probably share my testimony, and so I started telling people what Christ did for me on the football team, and then I went to a revival one night. I'll never forget this. I was saved in January, and this was June. So 6 months in, I'm like at a revival meeting, and the pastor goes, "Hey, you're a preacher, right?" And he kind of looks at me. I'm like, I remember saying, yeah, I think I am. And he goes, "Well, come preach then."
Oh, man.
And I had nothing. I've been saved 6 months.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that moment. And then it was Sunday school for me. It felt like an overwhelming weight in my chest and on my heart, where I felt like I have to say, I need to vocalize this, that God has called me to preach, to be a preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I look at like the scriptures, like making your calling and your election sure, which I know is more dealing with more salvific, ideology than maybe necessarily the specific call to preach. But I still think there's a supernatural call and gifting within the individual that's ignited by the gospel and the Holy Ghost, that a man feels that burning inside of him.
I tend to agree.
Yeah.
I've heard kind of a mixed bag, but I've wondered that too, because you said this in the beginning, but it's like we are all called to share the gospel, and I think we had talked about this on another episode, but I've never felt that, right? Like I've never felt a supernatural, you need to go lead a church, and I think that for someone to do that, God comes and He moves in their life in such a way where He puts that burden on them.
Sure.
Now, that doesn't mean that we as those who haven't received that shouldn't still do that. And I do feel the burden even through this podcast, where it's like, we had Matt on, and then he texted me, he's like, "Hey dude, this is going," like people in Alabama that I haven't talked to in years are texting me, they're hearing this episode. And it's like, we have a burden of doing things the right way and sharing the gospel on here. And then I see Tim, with the missionary, he's getting called to that. But he's in a similar way that you are. He feels that burden, like I need to do that, and so I think God's opening the doors for that to happen. And anyway, I guess I was just curious to know what that situation was like, because I do think there is a difference, and we're all called as saved people to be disciples. And I think that we should all figure out how to do that, and I think God will open those doors. But I think there is a difference in being a senior pastor, because that is like people don't think of it.
It's not just preaching.
It's a heavy burden to bear. And if you look at it like an occupation, or like this is just my job, I think in some ways, sure, that's what it is, but it's not.
No. I would even separate pastoring from preaching. I think there's a secondary call on a man to pastor.
Agreed.
I think there's a lot of preachers that are pastoring that have never been called to pastor.
Yeah.
They're really good preachers, and so they stepped into a call to pastor, and they're just not pastors.
Yeah.
I think that has to be situated in a way that we got to kind of work that out. But I really believe pastoring is a secondary thought.
Pastoring mean more like shepherding.
Shepherding, exactly, like starting a church or taking a church and being that senior authority over that church as a shepherd to lead his flock, to preach the gospel. There's lay preachers, there's evangelists, the gift of prophecy, different things that we can step into that, hey, maybe God's given you a message or God's given you a voice, but that doesn't mean God's called you to lead a church.
Right.
And sometimes the best preachers are then pushed into moments to be pastors where God's never called them to pastor, but their gift accelerated them to this place, right, of leadership that maybe God never designed. I know some amazing pastors who are not the greatest preachers. I know some amazing preachers who are pastors that it's like, I don't know that you probably should be in that position. And I wrestle with that.
Yeah.
I never felt like pastoring was never going to be something I would have chosen. I'm good at being extroverted, but I don't know that I'm naturally extroverted. I'm probably more naturally introverted.
Yeah, I feel that.
I'm just.
That's exactly
But
how
I'm good at being extroverted. I'm a problem solver, so I feel it's my weight to solve everybody's problem.
I think it's people exhausted Jesus too.
It says he sat thus on the well, being wearied with his journey.
Yeah.
Like he was exhausted.
Yeah, I mean, he had to take a break, and he was like, "Hey, I'm going across this sea to like get some rest."
I love the well moment because he tells his disciples to go get food, and then they come back with food, and he goes, "I got food you don't even know about." Yeah. And it's like he wasn't really hungry; he was just sick of them. I think for a while, he was like, "I'm tired."
He's like, "I need a break, man."
Y'all go do something. I'm going to hang out and just talk to this lady for a little while.
Yeah, it's like we forget that while he was fully God, he was also fully man, and people would. I mean, I deal with that a lot. Sometimes I leave here and I feel like I didn't really do anything all day, but I talked to a lot of people, and I'm just drained. And then I go home. Of course, I got 3 small kids, and I've got to get out of that.
Yeah.
But it is a battle dealing with, even if it's not in a negative way.
Sure.
And of course, as a pastor, and you've got to deal with a lot of negative situations, death and people coming to you with their problems, I'm sure. But even if it wasn't that, it mentally drains you to have to.
Well, the woman with the issue of blood, Jesus said, "I felt virtue leave me." So he felt something.
Energy.
Something left him.
Right.
And that was just one person pulling on him.
Yeah.
And how often does he have people pulling on him? We know that's not us. It's not even of us. It's a gift of God that God's put into us. Yeah. We know the supply is unlimited, but we're not an unlimited reservoir, so we only have so much. At some point, we got to refill.
How do you refill, man?
So I guess I am blessed in the fact that now that I'm in the ministry and I look at it, the church fills me. I really enjoy doing what I do. I really enjoy building the church, creating, thinking through, solving problems. Every problem that I'm able to solve, it feels like you had value. You've done something. I mean, no doubt. I mean, I guess the simple answer could be the Bible, right? But I think that's a continuous source that a man has to have in his life. Prayer is absolutely essential. Family time. I went fishing the other day. I really, I don't get to do that much, but I like to fish.
Yeah.
So,
Where'd you go?
Went to Elkhorn
Oh,
Creek.
dude, I love Elkhorn.
We had never been.
Did you do good?
Yeah, we caught 37 between 3 people.
Bunch of smallmouth? Oh, yeah.
Caught a walleye.
Love that place.
Me and Tim went down there and about died.
Really?
On a canoe.
We've never been.
Okay. Calm down.
You almost
that
flipped the
story.
canoe,
Let's
dude.
hear that story.
We didn't almost die.
Well,
We almost just got tossed overboard.
we went with a buddy.
Okay.
And this was back in our...
It sounds like there's a cooler involved somewhere.
There's a couple of them.
to say the least. Okay. This was back before we had really given our lives over to Christ. We'll just put it that way.
Okay.
So we're with these guys, and we had actually stopped. And it'd been, we did they have a couple different ones. You can do like a 14-miler and a 7-miler.
We heard that. There was a bunch of kayakers, and I said, "Which one are you doing?" She goes, "I'm doing the fun one."
The fun one's only like 3 miles.
So apparently, yeah. And then the next one was called a full one.
We did the full one.
And I thought, somebody obviously had insight to this. We're going to call this one the fun one, and this is the full one.
I mean, I had fun the whole time.
It was we had fun, maybe not through our own means. There was a point in time where it was like, all right, dude, this is a lot. It was like 100 degrees, but the water was cold because it was mid-June still. It hadn't gotten too hot. Anyway, we're going down. We go through some rapids, and there was a group that was with us behind us, and Tim and I are in a canoe, and they were in kayaks, so they're way faster than us. And in a canoe, you shift your weight the wrong way, and it gets
Just
real
wobbling.
rocky.
Sure.
So Tim's kind of you were in the back of the canoe, right, doing the steering,
That's right.
and I was in the front doing the rowing. So as I'm rowing, he's steering us left and right. Well, anyway, these guys catch up to us, and they're inebriated, to say the least, and they grab onto our canoe. And they're like, we're going for a ride. So we're coming down the river, and it splits. This is kind of toward the end, and there's an island in the middle, and to the right are like, you got to be you don't need to be in a canoe. You need to be in a kayak to be able to make it through these rapids. And to the left, it was a little bit more, kind of open, a little rapid, but you could get through it pretty easy. Well, I'm getting mad at this point because they're steering us toward that heavy rapid and that island. And so I don't know exactly what happened. Somehow we break free sideways, and we're just going straight toward this island, and the water's rushing around it, and the whole canoe tops over. I had to get out, get up on we're grabbing onto the island, and Tim was able to scoot us out around it. If we had flipped out of that thing, I mean, I would have got sucked up underneath that island. I was terrified. Now it could have been the alcohol freaking me out, but it was.
So this is a floating island. I don't understand how you get stuck.
No, he's just a panicker.
Listen. It wasn't floating, but it had the roots were kind of out. There was
washed away.
It was washed away.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So you might not have got trapped under there. Okay. But it would have been a little bit scary. Anyway, but we had a good time. There was a lot of people catching smallmouth. We caught a couple. I've heard that's one of the best smallmouth fishing places in the state.
We hadn't, I didn't know about it. We talked about wanting to go places. Went to Floyd's Fork, went to Otter Creek a few weeks ago with the kids. And then I Googled smallmouth fishing in Kentucky, and Kentucky Afield had just went there last weekend. Cool. And they said they caught more than they could count. Yeah. So I was like, well, we're going to this spot.
That's what I've heard. Where were you catching them on?
Little TRDs, which is like a 3-inch Cinco essentially. Yeah. Plastic. Yeah. And throw it out on a Ned rig, just let it float down, and we just crushed them. It was a blast. It was a blast. That's cool. I usually, fishing is one of those things that I go to relax, and then I walk 6 miles, and I beat myself up, and I overdo it, and I chase, and I fish too long. And this was one of the first times in a long time that I went, and I didn't care if I was third in line. I wasn't trying to beat the other two guys. I just fished. Yeah. And we went 300 yards total. We didn't go far at all. Caught 30-something fish. Didn't get too sunburned. That's good. And just feel like I was able to slow down and relax. Yeah. So it was nice. That's good, man.
Yeah, I got to go the first time this year, last weekend. And my brother-in-law's got a place at No Lynn, and I like to bass fish. Yeah. And I never do good at No Lynn, ever. And I've fished there. My dad didn't live far from there when I was coming up. Anyway, and we were slaying them down there. I think it was a kind of cool front we had come in for a couple days there. And I forgot how – it's weird, man. I grew up fishing and hunting, and that was kind of my thing. And then as you get kids and life and you get a business and you don't have – it's like you think you're going to start a business to have more time to do that stuff, and you have none. Yep. And it is – weird how enjoyable it is though when you do get you actually get to appreciate really God's creation and our ability to do that. When you can slow down. So if I can make a recommendation, it's going to be very hard for you to do this, but at least one time in your life you need to go to Wyoming and do some trout fishing.
Just do it. I love fly fishing. It's another thing I enjoy doing.
It is. I've only got to do it once, and it was the coolest thing I ever did. Okay. Loved it up there.
If you're watching online, you can make donations at.
That's right. It is an organization. I think it was Gray Ranch in Casper, Wyoming. Okay. So we went with a veterans organization.
Good deal.
We did actually it was a
promo
Christian. It was, what's that book, Tim? Come on, we've read it 3 times.
Wild at Heart.
Wild at Heart.
Oh, Wild at Heart's an amazing book.
So it was a group of combat veterans, and we all went, and It was completely paid for. The organization paid for it. They paid for our flights, and they had like a chef on staff.
Wow.
And we went through Wild at Heart. And of course, you're in the middle of Wyoming, which was, kind of brings you into the book a little bit.
Yeah.
And then during the day, they had paid guides that would come out and take you out on it was called, oh man, I can't remember right now. There's a river there next to Casper, and they would take you out on the river on a boat, and they taught you everything you needed to know, and you just slay rainbow trout.
So I've got fly rods in my car right now. It's something I do. I love fly fishing.
Do any good at Otter Creek?
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
I mean, it's stock, but I went there 2 weeks ago with the kids. Kids were just swimming, and they're like 3 feet from me, and I think I caught 5 trout. So, but they're just dumb stalkers, and so they don't have a clue. They're just eating what they can find, and so.
Yeah, I know they dump them in Floyd's Fork. I've caught one out of Floyd's Fork, and I've never really went and fished Otter Creek. How old are your kids?
6, 8, 10, and 12 this year.
Okay.
Yeah, they're actually 6, 7, 9, 11.
Okay.
They'll be 6, 8, 10, 12 this year.
Gotcha.
So.
That's how. What do you mean? Oh,
they're even. So this is an even year. My son already turned 6,
Okay.
and then my daughters are all next. They'll go 8, 10, 12 this year.
So you have 3 daughters and a son.
Nice.
Yep.
That makes it easier to remember.
It does. And what I do is just the second he turns his age, I automatically promote all of them.
Right. Yeah.
I just remember mine.
That's
are
reasonable.
17, 18, 21.
Yeah.
And that's how I can keep them all in line there.
They're about
their,
18.
their birth years.
Yeah. 17, 8. No, they're not 17, 18, 21. Their birth years are 17, 18, 21.
I got
Sorry,
you.
I know that was confusing.
You got started early.
Yeah. Boy, if they were 17, 18, and 21, I'd have got started early.
Mine are 13, 15, 17, 19. So it's
Okay.
Yeah. 2
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, I enjoy having the young kids. We were just talking before you got here. We're in baseball now.
Okay.
And, dude, nobody talks about how crazy baseball is, man.
Yeah.
It'll wear a family down.
It will. And me and my wife both were, she more so probably than me was athletic. I played football, played semi-pro football.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then,
Didn't you? You roughed a few guys up too, didn't you?
so I was in MMA for a little while.
I think I remember hearing that.
That
or
was a
something.
fun season. But we determined, not to cast shade, but we were like, we're not doing it. We got 4 kids. They're all different ages, so they're going to be in different groups.
Oh, yeah.
We're not doing the competitive sporting thing. Like they do gymnastics leisurely. We pay that for like seasons. They've played basketball through Little Flock, but even that's like leisurely.
Yeah.
They miss games. They miss practices. We're not chase. We have just said we're not going to chase our kids.
Yeah.
All over ball fields.
I think there's value to that. We've had some serious conversations about it. I think if my boys weren't on the same teams, we'd be out.
Yeah. I think that makes it easier. So same practice, same day, same places. You can watch all at the same time. Yeah.
Except for now, we're doing all-stars. And so now they're, my younger one, he's not even 7 yet.
Yeah.
They were on the same team all year, which was fine because, we have a game, same practice. Well, now with all-stars, my older one is playing in the 8U team, and he's on the 6U team. So, like, tomorrow we got 1 game in E-Town and 1 game in Fern Creek, and I told my wife, I'm like, we could not maintain this. I don't know how people do
I don't have
that.
strong opinions,
I do.
but it's like
I have strong opinions about it.
I'm sure you have great kids, but I would imagine that no 7-year-old is actually an all-star.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Why are we traveling to E-Town, dude?
You're not an all-star.
He's not,
You're
man.
not an all-star.
No.
Like, we can call you all-stars all you
Yeah.
want and make your parents pay a lot of money
Yeah.
and be excited about this, but none of you kids are all-stars.
That's what I mean. And these parents are paying
Bukus.
thousands of dollars.
And getting divorced.
Yeah,
then
and running their family.
Wives and dads are cheating on each other.
Yeah.
And they're swinging at the hotels as they travel to Florida.
I swear.
I've heard
I
all
swear.
of it.
That's how it goes.
I've heard all of it.
And I told her, we were getting recruited by some travel ball teams, and they're like 4 practices a week, 2 tournaments a month, and I'm like, no, dude, we're not doing that. So we're
and somebody has to be making a lot of money because you just said you were getting recruited,
Oh yeah,
and they don't. It's because they're putting money in their pocket.
$1,200 a kid.
Yeah, there you go. So,
$1,200 a kid.
You're not really being recruited. You're being scammed.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a sales pitch.
Come over to our
But
team.
if I convince you I'm recruiting you now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a like a buzzword in sales.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we would love to recruit you to our
Let
team.
me see if I have room.
Yeah.
We'll make room. No,
We-
we'll
we
make
gotta
room.
make sure
is what
it's a
they
good.
said.
Yeah.
We gotta make sure it's a good fit.
Yeah,
You know.
he's a cultural fit.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
He's
just at
seven.
$50,000, but we'll give it to you for 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a great deal. Yeah, it's weird though because like I didn't grow up playing baseball. I played basketball. You know, we're in Kentucky. You
Yeah,
either played basketball
basketball.
or football. Nobody really played baseball. Well, baseball's kind of the thing now.
Yeah.
And which I mean, I guess maybe it's just because I'm in that world right now. But it is an industry from a young age, like no other sport is. You know, basketball, you didn't start AAU until you were 14, 13, 14. Baseball, I mean, at 6 and 7 years old, they have travel teams that are coming out and talking to parents and trying to get them on their organ. And I'm just like, man, you're making that your idol, one, which we know. I mean, I know that sounds kind of cliche, but it's the truth, dude.
does,
Your
yeah,
whole
it
family
really
has to
does.
revolve around it. So we could go down
If you
that
could
vein.
balance it, but I've not seen many balance it.
No, I don't think you can unless you get away from. So we're going to try something, actually, with Tim's brother-in-law, where it is
You know Joel.
Joel.
Yeah.
Or I know.
Yeah. So where we're gonna get a team together and we're just gonna practice, and because otherwise it's fall ball and then all stars again, and then it's just like this cycle. And so I really kind of want to get away from that because we have church. We can't be missing church on Sundays for baseball games. I'm not going to let it take away. So what Joel he's a pastor. So we decided like, hey, our kids are on the same team. Let's break away from this and start something where we can focus on player development while keeping the families grounded. We'll do one tournament a month. We won't run into Sunday tournaments. And that way we have a little bit more control. So we'll see how it goes.
See how that works.
My hope is that the families, because it's really relying upon, will the other families go for that?
Yeah.
But I think there is, I talk to a lot of parents and they're like, man, it's just so much. But he likes to play baseball and we want him to have opportunities. And in the baseball world, you got to start. And I'm like, he's 7 and 8. It'll come. And anyway, so we'll see.
What
how
is
it
the
goes.
is the percentage changed? I would wonder.
It
that.
is so low.
Very,
Has
very
it
low.
changed though with all the advancements of youth league?
It's
and,
probably
gotten
lower.
worse.
Has it gotten
Probably
worse?
lower, yeah.
So the United States, I was actually looking this up. I don't even know why, because baseball is all that pops up on my YouTube now. All these other, China is becoming one of the bigger baseball producing countries because their players, they don't even start playing until they're 10 and 11. And they don't get into travel. They really don't even have a travel circuit there. But for like their elite players, they do. And they don't even start that till they're 15.
Wow.
And they're coming over here and just destroying American players. Dominican Republic is another big one. Those players don't really start training. It's an interesting thing, though, because when they turn like 16 or 17, if they don't have a career, so obviously different culture. If your family has wealth, you typically will just go work for the family. If they don't, and you're a physical, healthy male, your parents will save money and pay a trainer, and you'll go live with a baseball trainer in the Dominican Republic for the last 2 years of high school or school if you're in school. And it's like, but not until you're 16 or 17. They're playing at a young age, but they don't have this travel circuit like we do in America.
Sure.
And those kids are coming over here and they're dominating the league, and our kids are burnt out by the time they get to high school. And you'll have some one-offs. We have Lou Ott is a guy we've had on the show, and he's a trainer here. He played in the MLB, and he's pretty cognizant of that. And that's why I like him, because he's like, hey, you're going to burn your kid out. He'll tell me, he's like, don't over practice them they can practice when they're here. Don't be on them at the house. Anyway, but I think Americans we're getting sold.
Sure.
A pipe dream, because everybody thinks their kid's going to make it to the league. And the reality is your kid has about an 8% chance of making it to play at a D1 college level. And then beyond that, he's got like a 0.3% chance of playing in the league.
MLB.
So, unlikely. Yeah. Sure, it could happen, but are you going to stake your kid's entire childhood on that? I mean, no. I mean, whatever. I mean, I guess you can, but that's ridiculous.
I'd be interested to know if there was like some study for Christian families specifically that do high level travel baseball and stuff like that.
There are people in the groups that because I'm cognizant now that we have had these conversations. I started looking into it, and there's like travel baseball group pages or whatever, and they'll be like, one of the things we like to do is when we go on a tournament, we'll try different churches out. So whatever town we're in, we'll go to church. We'll have a Bible study with the team on Sunday, and that's fine. But I don't know, man. I just think that you're still putting baseball above your faith, because I can tell you through doing All-Stars, we pray every night and that kind of thing, and we'll talk about God, and it's ingrained kind of in our life. But through baseball, that started to fade out.
Yeah, well, you would. So we're going to travel different churches, and we'll have a Bible study. Okay. They would never reverse that. We're going to jump team to team, and when we're at church, we're going to talk a little bit about baseball, and that replaces baseball. Well, no, you can't do that. You got to be dedicated to your team, attend all the practices, study everything out, but we can. The mentality just shifts. You can see a priority there that matters.
To be fed from a church, you have to be part of the church.
Yeah.
I mean, going to a church service is fine, but you can listen to a sermon on YouTube.
Yep.
It's not the same. When you are part of that body and you're giving to that body and that body is kind of giving to you, that's where the church happens. It doesn't happen you going to church in Charleston, South Carolina.
Well, they would say if you treated baseball that way, you would call it intramural or just pickup games.
Yeah.
And then the league players would say, well, they're not serious. They're not serious players.
Right.
But then you've just said then you're an intramural churchgoer.
Correct.
And you're a pickup churchgoer, and you're not serious about it.
And you're willing to do that.
Yeah, and then you'd be like, "Oh, that's offensive. Don't say that to me." But like,
How dare you?
You said that. Like, you said, "I just jump from church to church, whatever area I'm in, and I'll do some Bible studies here and there because I supplement what I do." And it's like, all right, that's fine. Let's just reverse the roles for a moment. And if you're honest, you would say a baseball player that does that is not serious about his skill or his craft and has no loyalty and no dedication.
Yeah.
But then a pastor say that about a Christian. Well, how dare you?
Oh,
you can't judge
You're so
me.
judgmental.
Don't judge me.
These pastors are so judgy.
I'm just making observations here. Let's be fair.
I mean, you're right, man. You're right, and that's been a battle, dude. It's like and Satan uses it as a way to wedge families, and I can see it because there's a lot of pressure. Not really from the kids. They like to play baseball, and we as parents want to give them those opportunities, but we also get our own ego. These parents have some huge egos, dude. It's weird. It's weird. I'm like, your kid's not even good, dude. Why are you anyway?
Yeah, it's like, oh, my kid's good because I'm good.
This is going to be the most talked about podcast episode. Like, we're going to have hate mail.
Oh, we do anyway.
Bring it.
Okay.
You should see some of the comments.
Riot is the guy. He usually sits there. He'll just, he's kind of like a tinfoil hat guy sometimes, and he'll say something off the wall, and people just love to hate him for some reason, and they'll just call him
because he's beautiful.
We were talking about he'll be in for our Bible study, but we were talking about we had a Revelation episode. We were talking about how God is a good Father, right? And we think that in American culture we have this picture of soft Jesus, right? Jesus is just soft all the time. And sure, he is that. But also, he's the creator of all things. And he is powerful, and we should fear him. And fear in an awe way.
Yeah, sure.
A reverence of him. So that was it. That was pretty much all we said. And anytime Riot's in the video, people just comment they hate him. And some guy was like, these are two guys who never had a dad in their life, like just ripping him apart. And I think he and his dad had like a great relationship.
They currently do.
I was like, if you weren't in that video, they would have never said that. It's just funny. But
and what else they say? That sounds like an abusive relationship.
Talking
about having authority and disciplining your children is what we
were saying. You need to be full of grace and love with your kids, but there also needs to be your kids need to respect you because you're willing to discipline them. And this guy was like, "That's called abuse," and I'm like, I don't even know what to say to you right now, man.
Yeah. Just Jesus loves you.
Yeah. I didn't even.
Yeah, bless your heart.
Bless
your heart.
Yeah. So I wanted to shift because I like to talk about, especially when I have pastors on, situation in Israel right now. Tim and I have talked about this 1,000 times, and we send different pastor clips back and forth. And we had the recent interview with Ted Cruz and what's his name? Why am I missing his name?
Tucker Carlson.
Oh, yeah. And so Ted Cruz, I grew up in a church, Independent Baptist church, and it was, you back Israel no matter what. You bless Israel, you'll be blessed. Same thing that Ted Cruz used in his argument. I was like, oh, well, that's how I grew up. So I start going down this rabbit hole because something didn't sit with me.
Sure.
Right? And anyway, so like there's pastors that I like, Mark Driscoll being one. He kind of aligns differently maybe than I do on that particular subject. I saw some guys last night that I agreed with. I just want to get your take.
How's Mark align?
Mark agrees with, he's a little bit, I think he's a little bit leaning toward we should back Israel no matter what, but he explained it better. You know, he goes into a little bit more in depth. So he's using passages to explain himself. He didn't talk about Galatians, and he didn't talk about Romans. And so I'll just tell you where I land real quick, and then you can give me your what you think as a pastor. Because look, man, you're more well versed in this, and this is what
Probably
you
not.
do. You are probably. We just started this Bible study about 5 months ago. But I'll just give you my take. First of all, I kind of agree that in that particular passage, God is promising Abraham a nation of people through his seed, and those people were really fulfilled in Christ. Christ is called the New Israel. And so that nation that is promised to Abraham are followers of Christ, not 1948 Israel and the land there. Now there is, and this is where I'm a little bit confused because I think at the end of Romans 11 it talks about there'll be a revival in the land of Israel, and then but in Galatians it speaks directly to God's promise to Abraham, and it says it'll be people that are called or that are in Christ essentially. This is the fulfillment of that promise. And I know I'm not getting the verses right, but I'm just saying. And then in Romans 11, it talks about how, and it's kind of almost prophetic in that one of the signs of the end there'll be kind of a revival in the Jewish nation of people coming back to Christ, Jews coming back to Christ in Israel. I believe. I could be off. I don't agree that we need to back Israel every time they kill. Look, I mean, I think what they did in Gaza was a little over the top. I'm just going to keep it real. Sure, you need to go kill the people that have been attacking your country. Maybe leave the civilians out of it. I know that's difficult. I was in Afghanistan. I get it. War is war. It's going to happen. I think they went a little too hard there. The situation in Iran. Iran's been threatening nuclear war forever. Israel was tired of it. I'm cool with that, but that doesn't necessarily mean we need to get involved. Let Israel do what they need to do. If there's a real nuclear threat, okay, sure, let's eliminate that threat. So yeah, I don't necessarily agree with the notion that the United States needs to back Israel from a biblical standpoint, no matter what they do. And this is my thought vein. Sure, Israel that's where Christ came from. And it was people from that land are why we believe what we believe today. It was also the land of Pharisees. And most people there today don't believe in Christ. And I don't know. I've seen a lot of Christians talking about it on social media and struggling with it. What is it? Most of my family disagrees with me on this. But I'm just curious to know from a pastoral standpoint, and I know maybe you haven't dove into this a ton, what's your perspective on it? So
I will just preface it with that this is never, even when Tim was like, hey, we're going to talk about Revelation. I've never been the guy. So like my gifting, and I'm very confident and comfortable, like I have come as a speaker of Christ to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. Like I preach salvation. I preach hope and purpose to people that God has something for them. I don't dive into the blood moons. I'm not looking at the mark of the beast. I'm not deep diving into Revelation, and I'm not getting into political ideologies of all that. Now, to say that, do I have a basic thought about it? To a degree, with the recognition that I have not looked into it, and even almost purposefully, to come to a dogmatic. So when I literally say I'm like underwhelming in this, I mean it with all my heart, and I just have no desire to dive into it.
I think there's value in that.
Romans 11 tells us that God is not done with Israel. Galatians tells us there's neither Jew nor Gentile, nor male nor female. So I think you have the Christian kingdom, And I think much of this conversation that we're having is not a Christian conversation. It's an American conversation.
Yeah.
And I try to remove myself from, even though I am red-blooded, red, white, and blue, served in the
Bald
military.
eagles, all that. Yeah.
I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
And there are lost people in Jerusalem and Iran, but that doesn't undo that you have to follow some of the history, and that God chose the nation of Israel. He chose them.
Yeah.
They were his chosen people, and he has a plan and a purpose for them at the end of this. I don't want to ignore that he said, if you'll bless them, you'll be blessed. So I think I would say I stand in support of Israel with the understanding that most of what Israel is going through is actually judgment of God.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, so they have been taken hostage over and over and over again as a chastisement of God to get them back on course and back on par.
Yeah.
Nebuchadnezzar was used of God to destroy Israel, tear down the temple, destroy the walls, take them hostage, and drag them across the country.
Yeah.
Babylon, over and over again, right? We look at those. And so any attacker of Israel, we have to recognize they are being used as an enemy, but they're also being used by God
To push Israel back.
to push Israel back to him.
Yeah.
So I think they're suffering what they've always suffered and will always suffer until Christ finally says enough's enough, and he redeems the remnant of Israel. Romans 11 says there's a remnant. Revelation talks about there's going to be a remnant that's saved.
We've talked about that.
Outside of that, I would say bless Israel, love your neighbor, preach Christ, and then let everything else kind of fall where it falls.
Yeah.
By no means is Israel. I mean, they're lost.
Yeah.
They don't know. They do not know who God is. They have an idea. They know Yahweh, but they've missed the great I am at the same time.
Yeah,
So
and they've like openly reject Christ as a country.
Yeah. So they are going to miss that portion of it. So you got to understand they're being led by leaders who don't know Jesus.
Or care to.
Or even try to, exactly. So most of them, I'd say. So that's kind of my opinion on it. I would never say, hey, Babylon was a blessed nation.
Right.
And Babylon was a good group. And Babylon was holy. I would have said Israel was God's chosen people.
Right.
But you can read it. I think it's in Daniel, maybe early. It's in one of the exile books. And it says that God used the hand of the Lord. I think it says the hand of the Lord was on Nebuchadnezzar to siege Israel.
He's done that 1,000 times. He did that with Pharaoh.
Yeah,
hardened his heart.
So I look at Iran as they're just a tool of God being used. I look at the Palestinian like it's just a tool of God. This is Jacob is going through what Jacob's going to go through.
Yeah,
Jacob is still wrestling and being wrestled with, but it's all going to lead to the redemption of Israel. But then we have to realize in the Christian realm, there's neither Jew, there's no Gentile.
Yeah.
So we see lost people dying, lost people going to hell, being destroyed. And so we need to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ.
That's a really refreshing take right there, man. Because
Agreed.
a lot of times it's looked at as, there's no difference between Jew and Gentile, so I don't have to care about them. But like you just said, that's not the point. The point is not there's no difference between Jew and Gentile, so we get the blessing and we don't have to worry about these people over here. They're lost people dying without Christ,
which is our only real purpose.
So what
on
are we
this
doing?
earth. I think first of all, you brought up a couple good points. The first is this is an American problem.
It really,
and I only see American pastors talking about it. And look, there's enough things to argue about. This is something that we struggle with because sometimes, we'll disagree on a particular doctrine or whatever. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, this is not the gospel. And Tim and I will do this. We've come to this agreement. If there's something we want to contend about, let's do it amongst ourselves. Because I think that there are layers of this. And if we're arguing about some stupid thing, we might take a new Christian and steer them in the wrong direction, or someone who may be considering even going to church are going to hear that and they're going to be like, I'm out. These guys can't even agree on this one little thing. Yep. So we've agreed to...
And we be disagreeing a lot.
We do, which is fine. I actually kind of like it because honestly, at this point, it helps me build upon my faith. Because it's also, at the end of that, it's always like, well, God's got it figured out anyway. We're never going to have it all figured out. Yeah. But I do think this is really an American problem. It's an American argument.
I try to take the question, just so you can see the insight. I take the question I'm asked, and I say, would this question exist if I was in Zimbabwe? If I pastored in Zimbabwe,
that's so good.
Would somebody ask me that question? No.
Nope.
So it's an American question.
It's
an American Christian question.
It is.
And America doesn't even exist in the Bible that I can find anywhere.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, this is an American worldview that's created an American problem with American perspective.
Right.
So you're trying to take an American worldview and an American problem with American perspective and grab a biblical answer, and it's like it doesn't exist.
Yeah, there's no
because
America's
it's
not there.
It's not there.
Yeah. Well, so, we are like
Americans.
and also the other thing is too. You said this. We are Americans, and I'm with you, dude. Like,
save the good guys, bomb the bad guys. Yeah, I'm there. I mean,
but also like we're Christians.
Yeah,
and honestly, that nation comes before the United States, and I think that in American culture, specifically in the Appalachia, Upper South, Bible Belt, it's a mix. It's the same thing, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Above being an American, you are called to disciple and to follow Christ. Sure, you can mix the two. You can work the call on Christ into the culture and whatever. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying sometimes we put America. And look, dude, again, I don't want this to sound unpatriotic because I'm like fully.
I'm with you.
I'm just saying sometimes we put that over our call.
We do,
and I think that this particular situation has brought that out. And by the way, I think your take is refreshing because I think that. It's what I've seen so far is it's one way or the other. It's you have to bless Israel, and if you don't, you're whatever. And really, it's kind of sure. I agree that Israel was God's chosen people, and in Romans it does say that they are going to be used and they're going to usher in kind of. I believe when Israel does come back to Christ, that's going to be one of our signs. And again, we don't have to go down the Revelation rabbit hole because that's hard to decipher, but. I had to ask that because I don't know. It's one of the American topics that are being brought up, and I think
there's Then you can take it and you get rid of the political side, and you look at the Christians. To know to do good and not to do it is a sin. So does that mean, as an American Christian, are there certain things that if we have the power to do good, should we do good? Yes,
agreed.
Do I have the wisdom to be able to discern? Because that bomb is indiscriminate.
Yeah,
it's going to do good, but it's going to do bad as well.
Right?
Who do you support? This is going to be a hot take maybe, and I'm going to be all over YouTube at some point. If I've got to pick between Israel and Iran,
easy choice.
It's easy choice for me.
Yeah,
right. But I'm also seeing it from I don't know what the news channel looks like in Iran. I don't, I get it that my worldview is somewhat skewed by the knowledge and the information that I'm given. We love to think that we have the freedom of press and the freedom of speech, but if we're going to pretend like we're seeing 100% of all the we're not.
Right, we're seeing
our government's giving us information that makes our history books are written from our perspective. And I'm a red-blooded.
When you win the wars, baby, you get to write the books. That's all I'm saying.
And there's this dichotomy, I guess, that's in me. Like, I'm a Christian, but I'm still lost and I still attached to the flesh. Like, if somebody called me tomorrow and said, "Hey, we need your help," I'm signing back up. I've got guns.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think I believe in that.
Right.
If somebody kicks in my door, in that moment, they're bad, I'm good.
Yeah, agreed.
And where are they going? I don't know. I pray they know Jesus, but I'm not
figuring
that out.
At that point.
It's not my problem at that point. Like, I have to, and then that opens all. Okay, well then, is life precious or not? Yeah, it is. But my family's life has, in that moment, to me, and right or wrong, has more value than that intruder's life. And so
I think the real responsibility is on the person breaking into your house and something like that, though.
Yes, sir.
They're putting your possessions above the value of their safety.
Also, I don't think that if Jesus was standing behind me and somebody broke into my house and my kids are in the house, he's going to go, you just need to set your gun down right now, man. No, dude. You have a responsibility as a father to be a good father.
Well, he
And
told his
sometimes
disciples, I'm leaving, and now that I'm leaving, if you have a purse or a coat, go sell it and get you a sword. Because, like, I'm gone now.
you're going to be in a fight.
You're going to need this. You're going to need this, to discern this.
That sends me on a real rabbit trail of thoughts there.
It
Yeah.
does.
Do you think
unravels? It starts.
when the apostles were captured to be killed, when they all were, do you think they kind of fought back and just lost?
Oh, Peter did for sure.
Oh, yeah. He got punched in the
He
mouth.
took a couple with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
took a
Peter was
couple.
cutting off ears,
Yeah.
with Malchus's ear, right? And so, I think they all have a different walk. And then back to like the Israel, they're also fighting wars. Like that's the same. We can follow the wars all the way through here.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same people, the same tribes,
Isaac and
same
Ishmael
nations. Yeah,
from the split.
yeah. For me, I always try to say, all right, if I was in a different country, am I being? It's just a topic I'm even getting.
That's actually a really good.
Yeah,
That's actually
am
a
I-
really good point.
Well, most of the contentions in America church don't exist anywhere except in America. What are you wearing?
Yeah.
How are you dressed? What kind of music are you listening to?
Yeah.
Are you Southern gospel or are you contemporary?
Why don't you get a
Go to
haircut?
Zimbabwe and they're beating drums and blowing whistles like
And dancing like
what do you
crazy.
do with that?
How you going
right?
to handle that?
Yeah. And grandma's breasts are out because it's just the culture
ain't got a
over
shirt.
there. Yeah. But no one's told them they're naked either, so
Yeah.
they're not even. We've over sexualized everything, and so it's
For
and
sure.
I get there's cultural relevance, but most of our arguments in America church only exist in America.
Yeah. I think we just miss that, dude. We just always miss that. And I think, too, man, it's like, first of all, I agree. If I'm picking Israel or Iran, easy choice. I think you can understand that in the world there was war from the beginning and there'll be war until the end. And you can still have a heart for people on both sides of that. And understand that as Christians, we are called to, again, be a good example and let Christ shine through us and be disciples. But also, we have to do what is right and what is good. And sometimes death is involved in that.
Yep.
And to protect innocence, sometimes you have to be the
You
wolf.
can't get away from that. God told Israel to go kill every Amalekite, go kill every woman, child, baby. He
It's
said,
crazy.
man, dog, sheep, cat. He said, kill everything the Amalekites own. Kill them all. You can't get like that. That is still God,
I know. That's what we were just talking about.
and so
God is that.
yeah,
But he is
that
also
too.
the opposite of that.
Yeah. King David, you're a man after God's own heart, and then he says you're a bloody man of war.
Yeah.
So a bloody man of war was also a man after God's own heart,
Yeah.
and so there's two sides of that, and I don't know how to balance that.
It's tough.
Yeah, and I don't know that I have to navigate that because I'm not at war. I don't need to be at war right now.
Right.
But as a nation, we are as a war, but God's kingdom isn't at war.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like,
And we're not called to be. We're called to.
Yeah.
We should be a beacon of peace and hope. There's something in us as men specifically, and this is, I think, God giving us this gift to protect us and allow His kingdom to flourish over time. But there's combat in us. That's why we are drawn to things like the UFC. That's why guys that are dumb like me join the Marine Corps and join the Navy. There's some kind of, and of course there's the pride, right? There's the bravado and all of that. But underneath it, I see it in my boys. You know, my boys are 7 and 8. There's this, they want to fight. They want to, and it's not something that's
they
like the
do.
pride. It's bred into them. I
yeah.
think that is a gift from God.
yep, God recognizes it. And
Yeah.
He tells David to go find his men, and he says, and then he calls those mighty men of valor.
Yeah.
Like, go find your group. And these are cold-blooded. These are guys that are chasing lions into pits and killing them.
Yeah,
These
I mean,
are
David
guys,
was-
yeah.
He wasn't no little kid, dude. He was jacked, probably.
And so you got to recognize that God
No, he
does
wasn't.
see value in that because it's necessary. For evil to prevail, all it takes is good men to do nothing.
Yeah.
And I think there's still value scripturally in that as well.
Agreed. You know, something that I've struggled with, and I heard someone explain this very well. But one of the reasons that I kind of got away from the church for a long time was that the men in the church didn't seem like men. And not that they didn't seem like men. It was just they were soft. I don't know how else to say it.
I think, and I wasn't saved in that time period, but I can like watch the movies, and I even see a remnant of it, of this generic Christian church. And look, I apologize to all of social media world, because I'm casting judgment here. But the men in the flip-flops wearing their cargo shorts and their Hawaiian T-shirts and their shell necklace, and they're like playing the acoustic guitar and singing the hippie peace song. Like, that was an error for a while.
Yeah.
That where men kind of lost that. And it's like turn the other cheek, and it's like, I think there's a balance. You do need that side of manhood, but that can't be the only side of manhood, because there are men that aren't that as well. And I think that robbed the church of masculinity. And the church did. I think the church struggles even today.
It does
with being a place of masculinity, and
the skinny jeans and I think I'm seeing a shift. Just to be fair to that,
I think there is.
I think masculinity is on a comeback a little bit in the church. And I'm not saying it needs to be like obviously there needs to be balance, and these men need to lead through Christ, because honestly you can go too far, and I think Christ is a good balancing act. He allows us to come to him, and he kind of molds us into that type of masculine person we need to be. But anyway, I'm seeing it change. Like most of the pastors that I see clips of on social media, they're getting the most traction, are not the hippie kind of. These are men who lead well. Yeah, they understand that being a man also means being tender. Yeah, but
vulnerable,
right? And being those things, but not just being those things.
Yeah, so you got to be a balance.
Yeah,
and this is a whole other topic, but just manhood's, it's so complex.
It is.
It's so complex.
Yeah,
and what it is and what it looks like. I think everyone thinks manhood looks like what they look like in the mirror. So every man looks in the mirror and says that's manhood, but then every man looks different.
Yeah. Sorry. I had to take a shot at him.
I got a picture of Chuck Norris on my mirror, just so you know.
Come on.
Sorry. So I know you're on a vein there.
Yeah. I think manhood has lost its place in the church. I think you're right. I think it's on a comeback. I wear somewhat of skinny jeans. I'm not against skinny, but there's an effeminacy that ran rampant through the church
for a minute.
That's scary. But then as I've traveled the country too, like West Coast masculinity is different than East Coast masculinity.
Yeah.
And Midwest masculinity. And Northern masculinity looks different than Southern So it's like there's cultural pockets even within that. And so I've had to kind of open my eyes and say, oh, okay, well, maybe a man doesn't always look like a certain thing.
Or talk a certain way.
Yeah.
We're used to slight accent, deeper voice.
Yeah.
Probably, at least a guy that kind of takes care of himself, has a beard.
All men should have beards.
You gotta have a beard.
Where we're at, that's masculinity. I went to church in Southern California, and
no beards.
And honestly, well, definitely no beards. But it wasn't even the way that they presented themselves, because they presented themselves as men, but it was the accent and the way that they talked. Because here, when people talk that way, we view them as effeminate, right? Out there, that's just how they talk. And it took me a while to understand, like, oh, I'm just like a dumb person from the South. This is just how these people talk.
I'm just a hick.
Yeah.
This isn't masculinity. This is called being a redneck.
Right. Once I got over that, I'm like, oh, these dudes are all right, Just so I think we have to have discernment there, too.
These guys are great, man.
Yeah, like we aren't the Bible Belt isn't the only place that exists in the world. Like there are people that are good,
it's a good point,
godly men that are Christ followers that just dress and talk differently. So we got to understand the difference. But
what else you got? We got some more questions.
I think we're good.
No. We're not good,
Tim's
man.
Like,
you shut it.
Tim's probably got. We got the guys coming.
I'm good till noon.
Are they out there?
I don't know.
Hang on, text them, dude.
There are people walking back and forth.
They're waiting. They're out. He just texted me and said we're out here waiting.
That's fine. Let him figure it out.
No. We'll wrap this episode.
I wanted to ask him something, man.
All right, get it out
about your kids.
Okay.
Like, how do you? Because your kids are like. Listen, I love my kids more than anybody else's kids.
You got great kids.
But the group of kids that are represented in this room have a very special place in my heart. And yours in particular, I spend a decent amount of time with them on Sundays. You know, they're in
and our kids
class,
love you.
and
My kids loved him too.
they're just different. You know, it's just like they have a different vibe about them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that something that y'all have done on purpose, or has that just kind of happened because you're in such a pursuit of Christ in your life that they've just kind of been pulled along with that, or is it a mixture? Or
Okay, it's probably let me unpack it the best way I can. I will say first and foremost, my wife is a rock star. She's amazing, and so that helps a ton. Having a really solid woman.
That's like the whole thing.
Yeah. But I will say also this: her dad did 10 years in prison. Her mother was navigating being a single mom in that moment. Whose sister, whose husband also went to prison around the same time. They both have babies, like just weeks apart. Whitney's grandmother was in an abusive relationship who divorced her husband. So she's a strong, independent woman. Whitney was raised in a house where there's just single parent, essentially. Dad comes home at 10. Whitney rebels and says, "Who's this stranger in my house?" So she goes and moves in with grandma, who's a strong, rebellious, independent woman because her husband was abusive. The husband lives next door because he don't want to leave the wife now either. So she never saw healthy parenting. Like she never saw what that looked like. My dad got married 6 months ago for the second time, but the first one didn't even last a year.
Man.
My mother was a drug addict my whole entire life, so I never saw parenting.
Yeah.
My grandparents kind of raised me, but being raised by grandparents is not being raised by mom and dad. So I never seen healthy parenting. So we don't know what it looks like to truly parent kids. So I think what's happened is we're vulnerable and we try to be very real in front of our kids, and we apologize a lot. And what I try to do is take them to the gospel, just consistently take them to the gospel. And just take them back to Christ. Like, I'm thankful they're all saved. Last night, laying in bed with Elias, we were at office yesterday. Now, I have to say this too. So I pastor, my wife's with me in the ministry, deeply involved. We don't balance ministry. Like, balance doesn't exist.
No.
Like, there's no such a thing as balance. I think balance is the hardest and the stupidest word we can use, because if you say whatever you're saying you're balancing your kids with, you're putting your kids at the opposite spectrum of whatever that is. So I'm trying to balance my kids with the church. That means my kids are looking at the church, and the church is looking at my kids, trying to see who weighs the most.
Yeah.
So now my kids are like, church is my enemy, and the church has to look at the kids, and I'm trying to take priority. So we don't do balance. We're not. We are Christians. We love God. We love the church, and we do life through the church.
Those are intertwined.
It's all the same. So we do life at church. That means my kids, and they know this and they abuse it, but they can walk into any meeting that I'm having. They have permission to walk into any meeting. I've told them that over and over again. It may mean they walk in and I say, "What do you need?" Turn around and get out.
Yeah.
But they have permission to walk into any door, any meeting, because they live at the church.
They're your kids, man.
Yep, and they live at the church.
Yeah.
And so they could make messes there. But at the same time, I'm constantly trying to draw them back to, this is God's house. We're reverent, be respectful. But they're wild, man. My kids are feral. Like, they're
I know the
they're,
feeling.
They're crazy. But last night, so Elias, we're at church all day long. Elias pinches Lydia. Lydia yells and says, "Elias pinched me." I walk in. "Elias, did you pinch her?" "No, I didn't pinch her." There's a huge pinch mark on her arm. He looks me in my eyes 3 times and lies to me. So I tell him, "You're wrong. Let me express to you why you're wrong." I train him. I think children need to understand, and this is my view, and I'm sure there's a hot take, but I think children need to understand disobedience is dangerous, and disobedience can lead to pain. So, like, if pain didn't have a purpose, we wouldn't experience pain. That night in the bed, while we're laying next to each other, because we do nighttime snuggles and prayer time every night, we're laying there, and I said, "Son, why'd you lie?" "I didn't want to get in trouble." I said, "How'd that work out for you?" "Well, I got in more trouble." And I said, "Are you saved?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm saved." So, well, how are you saved? How do you know you're saved? "Well, I believed on the gospel." "Well, tell me what the gospel is, son." "Jesus died on the cross, and he died for my sins, and he was buried, and now he lives in heaven." I said, "What did he die for?" "My sin." I said, "Well, what's a sin?" "Lying."
Yeah.
I'm like, "So you did something that Christ died for? Like, just remember, like, recognize you did something that Christ died for. And I said, that's the issue. That's the issue. Like, Christ died so you don't have to do that anymore. And so just trying to bring what he did back to the gospel and bring it back to gospel conversations. And just let him know, like, I love you, man. We're buddies. Like, I'm your father, but I'm also your buddy. And like, I want to have a trust with you. And that trust is forsaken every time you tell me a lie.
Right.
And just, I think that's just real conversation. And I'm 100% like, I don't believe I'm an expert at this at all, but I think there's such a vulnerability and a realness that there's one thing kids are really good at, and they can spot a phony. Kids can spot a phony.
Yeah.
And I think God created them in such a way that true vulnerability and just realness with them goes a long way. And I think too often we think, my wife has taught me this, we think, oh, they won't understand that yet. They understand so much. They understand so many conversations we don't have or avoid because they won't understand it. We decide just to have it.
Yeah.
We have those conversations. And I've watched her explain things. That's why she's taught me this. Is like, she'll be explaining something to the kids. I'm like, they're not going to understand what you're trying to explain to them right now. And then I'll watch them understand. I'm like, dang, they
Who's
did
the dummy
understand.
now?
Yeah. Who's the dummy now? Like, all right. So now I just try to explain things to him. And it's amazing at 6 years old, the things he understands and sees and knows and figures out. And that means he's going to put it together. Whether I explain it or not, he's going to put it together or try to put it together. So I would rather walk with him in that moment than just let him figure it out.
When Owen was going to get saved, I was like, I don't know if he's going to. I got saved at a really young age, like 5. And I think I knew that I just didn't want to go to hell, right? Like, I was able to understand that, but I didn't really understand the gospel. And I didn't get saved. I didn't come to Christ until I was 16. And, some people can remember the exact day and time and the moment. I don't really I remember it was February. I was 16. I was in my bedroom. I knew how to come to Christ. And in that moment, I just gave up and came to Christ. I was under some heavy conviction. It was I remember the moment. Anyway, Owen was 6 or so. And he started talking about he had gone to a church and they were, raise your hand, come down here, come down here, and like just nonstop. And he eventually just did it because they wouldn't stop. And they called me and they're like, hey, he got saved. And I'm like, I don't.
Does he understand?
Right.
More specifically, though, that instance.
So that's what I'm getting to.
It's important to talk about what they were saying.
Yeah, this kind of builds the story, right? Because they are explaining salvation to him, and they wanted I think they kind of just wanted the number.
No, check.
Right. Got him saved. But I didn't sway him from that because I didn't want to, I don't want to interfere with what the Holy Spirit's doing. But I was talking to my wife privately. I'm like, listen, I know my son, and I know that he doesn't really understand that. And I know this church, and I kind of know that process. And anyway, but that seed was planted. And so about 6 or 7 months later, that resurfaced. And I told my wife then, I'm like, one of the big things for me, because I thought I was saved for a long time, but then it was always this kind of question mark.
Sure.
And I don't want there to be a question mark for him. I don't want him to grow up
wondering
with that. Yeah, just wondering. So anyway, we were asking these questions like you were. When you were describing that to your son about salvation, that was like the conversation that we had. Yeah. And so when he was able to articulate that, I'm like, he knows. He knows what repentance is. He knows what salvation is. And then we led him to Christ right then. And to me, I think what you're doing, because we're humans, man. We're flawed. We're dumb guys. I don't know how else to say it really, but if you're pointing back to Christ, they're going to be smart enough to decipher that. And even if they don't know exactly what you're saying in the moment, that's going to be baked into them over a period of time. And I think that's how we parent. Yeah. I think that's the only answer, because we're going to get it wrong if we try to do it under our own power.
It's got to be Christ.
Has to be.
A lot of gospel conversations in all of our parenting. I try to take everything we do back to the gospel.
Yeah, and it is powerful. There's a book called Fathered by God. You ever heard of that? The same guy that wrote Wild at Heart wrote Fathered by God.
Who was that? Eskridge?
John Eldridge. Yeah.
Okay, Eldridge.
One of the better books I've read, but that book helped me understand, as a flawed man who had a rough kind of upbringing in regard to my father, who, I love my dad, but it was a weird childhood and all that. But anyway, that book opened my eyes to how God fathers us in a little bit more in depth, and it uses scripture to kind of guide you through the book. But everything we experience with our kids, that pain we feel when they sin, is exactly how God feels with us. And I think that's the gift of being a father. So,
and navigating, I think sometimes trying to navigate the motivations of correction. Like, like even last night having that gospel conversation, it's like, it's so easy to try to use shame as a motivation or guilt as a motivation. And it's like, man, you got to really be careful of the emotion that's attached to the correction, because you don't want to lead with, I don't want my kids to pick up shame. That's not what I'm trying to do. Right. Or just please the Father. Like, I'm just doing this to please the Father.
Yeah, you come home and there's fear. Oh, no, Dad's home. Something bad's going to happen. I know it's tough, and that's hard to balance. Because you come home, you've had a day, and they're young, feral kids. And
you can't do it outside of Christ.
You cannot, dude. I don't know how people do it. It
requires Spirit-filled parenting.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, whatever method you guys are using,
they're doing a good job.
It's really evident in your kids.
Well, I appreciate that.
They're super special.
Will you give this man a star or something when he comes to church Sunday?
I do. Tim. Every kid loves Tim. Has an anointing.
He does. Kids love you, Tim.
Yeah.
They do.
My kids love you.
Yeah. He's an anointing.
They also they do punch him. It's a weird way they show love. When they see
sight.
Tim
With your sons, it's on sight.
They're going to punch him as hard as they can.
What's funny is my kids don't call anyone. It's always like their first name. It's like whatever the first name is, which I'm not a big fan of. But in the church, outside of like brother or sister, which I think is kind of strange sometimes too, but it's Mr. Tim. So when they talk about Tim, it's generally Mr. Tim.
Why?
And I don't know, but I always hear them say Mr. Tim, Mr. Tim,
Mr. Tim.
Mr. Tim. It's like, to me, but then they talk to him, I hear them say Tim to him. But like at home, they say Mr. Tim. Well, and I'm like, all right, we're just going to run with Mr. Tim then. But I feel like they respect, there's a reverence or respect there towards you when they talk about you at home.
You know what, man?
Probably because he loves them.
I don't like talking about like how I do things and stuff, but I like the authenticity and just like having a regular conversation. Kids love that.
Yeah.
They don't want you to talk to them like they're some idiot that doesn't understand anything, because they feel smart and they are actually smart, but you just gotta
draw that
they
out.
can handle the info,
So they really are all-star 7-year-olds.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
They're-
So my kid is an all-star?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
No problem.
I'm going to put
It
that
takes
on.
a special kind of grace, because I'm the opposite. Like, you're all idiots.
Agreed.
Everybody gets that's what.
Dude, I'm that way too.
That's why I love teaching
Kids.
the kids' church so much, is because and you can almost like see it on their face when they walk in. You can know, oh, this kid's gonna have something cool to say.
Yeah.
And then you start getting into the thing.
Yeah.
And I like asking weird questions. So.
Well, Lydia would be your weird answer, probably.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Lydia's gonna give you your weird answers.
I don't want to cut this short.
Yeah.
We got guys waiting outside. We got to get into the Bible study. So,
Awesome.
man, EJ, I appreciate the
great being here.
conversation, dude.
Yeah, it's
I just
super
like we like to have people on and just have maybe a little bit out of the ordinary. I don't want it to feel like a weird interview, so I hope it didn't.
No, I was expecting Revelation. Tim said
Which we're coming. Revelation's coming up.
Oh, okay.
We're about
gonna
to get into Revelation right now, aren't we?
We are.
Do
Yeah.
you record that as well?
We do, and you're welcome to.
Yeah, you can hang out.
I might stick around.
We're going.
Yeah.
We're doing the first letter, Ephesus.
Okay.
That's all we're doing today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just going to go through letters.
Chapter 2.
Yeah.
We
started with the.
through
We are not. I don't even know if there's like a specific. Isn't there like a type of theology that's specific to
Eschatology.
eschatology? We are not experts in that, so we're just kind of figuring it
Speak
out.
for yourself, buddy.
ChatGPT is our friend when it
Is
comes
it?
to Revelation. Hey, honestly,
ChatGPT's
if
great.
you tell it to talk to you through whatever specific Bible you like, we read out of the ESV, and it'll give you really good responses, and it'll refer back to the Old Testament, and it's a interesting tool, man.
Always verify.
You got to verify it.
But dude, I'm
You gotta
telling
verify it,
I'm
but-
telling you, when prompted correctly, I have never had ChatGPT give me a demonic or unbiblical answer.
No.
Yeah, we were reading.
You specifically prompt it now.
A friend of mine is using ChatGPT as his therapist. He stopped paying for his therapy, and now he said, "Act as my therapist," and he has a conversation.
See,
with
look,
ChatGPT.
man. I'm a little weird about. I don't know. I think we're going to go eventually. That's going to change culture. I've seen people getting married to it.
Sure,
it's weird.
Well, I don't like that.
We'll get into it.
It's the mark of the beast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Obama made it. It's his fault.
Thanks,
So,
Obama.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks so much, man.
Awesome.
Hopefully have you on again soon.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Y'all have a good one.
Yeah. There's a war going on inside. Just to name a couple, I battle with porn and pride. In a persistent struggle, a reoccurring huddle. A prayer meeting with me and the Holy Spirit. Feeling free, but no, I'm nowhere near it. But thank God for his conviction. The awkward part of me that may leave others to suspicion and call me into question. I confess my addiction. Know it's a lethal weapon. May compromise the mission. Being proselytized from this humanistic system. You think about that until